All right, little Sunday early game window here on the Volume Sports. Remember, always subscribe. Down to your right, click the red subscribe. Let's talk Packers New England. That was the last one to just end in overtime. I know everybody thinks I'm so anti-Aaron Rodgers, but we saw it again. So Romeo Doubs, rookie receiver, fumbles in the first half, and Aaron Rodgers ghosts him and refuses to go back to him. Now, later in the second half, he did, and he dropped a surefire touchdown in the end zone. So hopefully Romeo Doubs, at least Aaron says hi to him this week at the facility. But this is a team that struggled at home to put away a Patriots team led by a third-string quarterback, Bailey Zappi, who was playing at Western Kentucky last year. When you saw Buffalo come from behind and beat Baltimore, that's why Buffalo's great. Kansas City, Buffalo, Rams have this ability to beat you several ways. Green Bay can beat you one way. It's got to be close, mostly low scoring. They can't get in a shootout. If the young receivers, which young people in life are prone to do, make some mistakes, Aaron ghosts you. You can see Matt LaFleur once again going to reverses to get Christian Watson involved. You just can't throw to your buddies. It's not the way it works. So I think this is another win, back-to-back wins. I look at the Packers. They beat an injury-ravaged Buccaneer team last week that didn't have Julio Jones, Mike Evans, or Chris Godwin, and they struggled at home in overtime to beat Bailey Zappi. This is just a water pistol offense with no deep threats, and they struggled. So I refuse to put this team in my herd hierarchy. Don't think I will this week unless it's number 10. I just don't see the Packers as a viable Super Bowl contender. There is simply one way to beat them. They pout at quarterback. They ghost at quarterback. And this team needs a patient mentor. And just let me throw this out. I'll say it again. Show me the quality wins for Matt LaFleur. Sometimes you're good looking on camera, you get that job. Show me the quality wins. I still don't think Green Bay situationally is an elite team. So let's now segue to Denver and the Raiders. When Russell Wilson was in Seattle, he was frustrated with the constant conservative coaching of Pete Carroll. It was competent coaching. It wasn't clever coaching. They couldn't, in the last couple of years, get their offensive line right, and Russell was fatigued by it all. But again, Pete Carroll was competent, as you're seeing this year with Geno Smith. Nathaniel Hackett is not. His dad took the USC job years ago, and the Pac-12, Pac-10 at the time, was not any better than it is today, and he finished 10th at USC, Paul Hackett. And I remember those teams, uncreative, uninspiring, vanilla offenses. His son is not a head coach in the NFL. I watched every team today. I do not believe, I know people in Indianapolis are unhappy with Frank Reich. He got teams into the playoffs. Nathaniel Hackett is not a head coach. The defense is regressing. They're situationally awful, completely uncreative. They don't manipulate personnel. You don't see a lot of different looks, unique motions. This is a highly predictable Denver offense. And I think Russell Wilson and his agent, Mark Rodgers, they're trapped again. But at least Pete Carroll was competent. This team is a disaster. And I know you say, Colin, you just will not criticize Russell Wilson. No, what do you want me to believe? That Russell Wilson is washed a year and a half after he had his three greatest years in succession, 2018, 2019, and 2020, were Russell Wilson's three best concurrent seasons. I'm supposed to believe 18 months later, he is completely washed. Really? Even last year after his injury, he came back too soon, but down the stretch, he played very well for Seattle and a bad O-line. This O-line's better. These receivers, it's deeper. Running back position, more talented. Aaron, Melvin Gordon in the game again for Denver in a key situation. Melvin Gordon has a fumble issue. Probably needing to move him at the trading deadline in 4 or 5 weeks. We've talked about this before. You don't need a great coach as a quarterback. You can get to the playoffs without a great coach, but you're not a Super Bowl team with a bad coach. Nathaniel Hackett is a coordinator. Hey, go ask Oklahoma right now. 75% of coordinators bomb as head coaches, right? There's not a lot of Lincoln Rileys and Sean McVays, all right? 75% don't work. You can spot it really early. If you cannot solve your side of the ball, there's a problem. Brent Venables, Oklahoma. The defense is worse than the offense. He's a coordinator. Nathaniel Hackett. Denver's defense is better than their offense. He's an offensive guy. This is a one-year coach. Do what Arizona did, upgrade. Sometimes you just got to own it, look in the mirror and say, we took a big swing, we whiffed. I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys win. Say what you want about Carson Wentz. Look at Indianapolis's offense without him. Ron Rivera, defensive coach, looks like he has ruined Carson Wentz. I know I like him more than you, but let's talk about the Cowboys. Nobody is saying, most people aren't saying Cooper Rush is Dak Prescott, but he's won 4 straight starts. Okay, right? Teddy Bridgewater won 5 straight starts for the Saints as a backup. Why? Because Teddy Bridgewater is an arguable starter. He's a low-end starter or a great backup. Cooper Rush is a great backup, or perhaps he's a low-end starter. Well, most of us and most people I know in the league consider Dak Prescott a middle-of-the-pack starter. So Dak is better than Cooper Rush, but it's not a huge gap. If you put Josh Allen on the field with his backup, Mahomes with his, Brady with his, Herbert with his, Burrow with his, the gap is significant. If you put Dak on the field going up against Cooper Rush, Dak's better. A little better. And that's why paying him $40 million is sort of a cautionary tale on what happens when you don't have a quarterback that can elevate others. I think the Cowboys now would have beaten Washington and the Giants with Dak. And they beat Washington and the Giants in the same manner with Cooper Rush, who, by the way, made 2 beautiful touchdown throws. Also had very, I won't say poor, but very average protection and pulled it off. So when we criticize Dak Prescott, I think you're seeing why. What is the gap between Dak and Cooper Rush? It is not that significant. You know you got the guy when the backup compared to the starting quarterback looks like a JV player. I want to touch on the Jets win over the Steelers. I know it's not a marquee game, but I want to touch on this. I thought it was a big win. So Robert Saleh, I didn't think was the right guy to hire as a coach. You're drafting a rookie quarterback out of a small school, BYU, reasonably small school. You want to go get an offensive coach. They went and got Robert Saleh, who had no head coaching experience. I think at times, like Nathaniel Hackett, he looks over his skis. But this was a moment. This was a moment with Zach Wilson returning. I think it was big for Saleh, not just winning at Pittsburgh and beating the legendary Mike Tomlin in a low-scoring defensive game. That was big for Saleh. Also for Zach Wilson, you're facing Kenny Pickett, 3 picks. He's a rookie. It's his first start or first game action. I know it doesn't feel like much, and Zach Wilson's overall numbers were okay, completed about 50% of his throws, but he had 2 very nice drives in the fourth quarter. And these are the kind of games that will get Robert Saleh another year, beating a Mike Tomlin. Now, I know it's Kenny Pickett, but I thought it meant something. This is a game you can't lose because all of a sudden you go upstairs, the ownership group of the Jets is like, Kenny Pickett throws 3 picks. We have a kid in his second year. We can't beat this team. They don't have TJ Watt. They don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have a good offensive line. It may not feel huge for anybody not a Jets fan, But this is the kind of game you get 2 or 3 more of those, and Robert Saleh gets another year, and you have some continuity for Zach Wilson going into his 3rd year. It was a nice win for the Jets. I picked him to win. And so there we go on a very busy Sunday. Now, Rams-Niners, I'm going to do a live tomorrow after that game. I don't know who I like. Rams probably because Trent Williams, the massive left tackle for the 49ers, is out, meaning they have to keep George Kittle in to help pass protect for Jimmy Garoppolo, meaning it's not much from the tight end position offensively for Jimmy Garoppolo, who needs weapons to win, especially against the Rams. I thought overall today, I'll ask a question to you. Who's a great team in the NFL? We thought it was Buffalo 3 weeks ago. We think it's Kansas City. It's not the Rams. Who's a great team today? Starters aren't playing in the preseason. Lots of soft tissue injuries. I like Baltimore, can't hold a lead. People like Miami. Now their quarterback's hurt. We like Buffalo, but they can't run the football consistently. So as you get down on your team, you get down on your quarterback, who's a great team as we begin October? There isn't one. Philadelphia, probably right now my vibe is I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know if they're built for the postseason, but the Eagles look like the best team in the league. Tonight. I may feel differently next Sunday. Right now, Philly looks like the best team in the league.